Hello everyone, CrystalFissure here and welcome to a new video. This time we're here to talk about Spyro, another Spyro the Dragon video, another speculation video. This time it looks like, however, we've got a little bit more than just speculation. According to Kotaku reporter Laura Kate Dale, who I was looking into this, obviously to try and make sure to see whether this was sort of credible. Apparently she was one that leaked something to do with the Mario and Rabbids game, like a long time before it's coming. So this is not like she has a terrible track record. I believe she said something about Mother 3 as well that may not have come to fruition, but I mean, I think that the point is that this is somewhat credible. Now, she says in this article that according to multiple sources familiar with the project, Activision is currently working on a Spyro the Dragon Trilogy Remaster, which will be announced in March 2018 and released in Q3 2018. Now, this is where I want to sort of talk about this more than just reporting on this, because everyone can read an article. I more want to talk about what that means if this is true, because I think that there's actually some quite potentially major implications that could affect the development or how long they've been developing it for. So, looking at that, March 2018 to Q3, so let's just assume it's March and then the game gets released in September 2018 or something like that. That gives it not even a year's worth of hype, of fanfare, promotion. And one of the major things that bothers me a little bit about Activision is the fact that Activision essentially lucked into 4 million copies for the Sane Trilogy. They barely promoted the game at all. It was pretty much almost all promoted by social media stuff and frenzied fans and people on YouTube, believe it or not to toot our own horns too much, but a lot of that was, we'd get some footage and people would just go mental over that. They didn't actually promote it with like a true marketing budget, and this was actually very much said in that Crash Bandicoot leak that came out about a week or so ago about how there's potentially going to be a new Crash game in 2019. So, which actually leads on to something else as well, that Vicarious Visions, if they are allegedly working on another Crash game and they're working on a Spyro game, how is that actually the case? So going back to the article, sorry I'm sort of jumping everywhere, the game is said to be developed by Vicarious Visions, same studio behind Sane Trilogy obviously, and I mean, that's interesting. It's like, does that mean that one of these reports is true, one of them isn't? That's what I'm sort of curious about. So the article, going into it a bit more, says that the trilogy remaster will, much like the highly successful Crash Bandicoot Sane Trilogy, feature new assets, lighting, animation, and cinematics, as well as a remastered soundtrack. This is the second point that I am I will just point out this. I will just say this. I'm absolutely negative about the idea of a new soundtrack. Now, I know that everyone, is expecting me to be very excited about this, and, with HD remasters like this, I mean, there's absolutely potential for this to be fantastic, and I want this for Spyro. I want Spyro to be back in sort of the original format rather than in a Skylanders incarnation or a Legend of Spyro incarnation. But the music, I would argue, is almost more iconic than Crash especially in terms of the sample libraries used. Now, fans and everyone like that, we have essentially tracked down like 90% of the instruments used in Spyro 1 to 3. But for some reason, when you think about like big corporations and stuff like that and people missing the mark and stuff like that, I could honestly see them try and go for not an orchestral approach, but a more modern approach with this soundtrack, which when there's just literally no need. They already have all the sounds at their disposal. They pay a couple $1,000s to have access to every single sound in Spyro. Heck, they could even get Stuart Copeland. The money that they made from the Sane Trilogy was so astronomically high, around 4 million copies sold, digital and physical. That's so much money because they expected it to be so much less. So with Spyro, I guess my sort of concern is whether they're going to take the exact same approach with Crash, as they did with Crash, and that would mean that Spyro won't get a massive marketing budget, there won't be much spend behind this, and they'll just expect it to sell as well as Crash. Now, back in the day, in the PS1 era, Crash obviously had a few extra years to be on the PlayStation 1, with 1996 for Crash 1 and 1998 for Crash 3 and Spyro 1. So Spyro did not sell as many copies as Crash. Spyro is arguably not as like accessible in sort of that basic sort of run and jump, spin gameplay. So it's a bit more of a complicated game. So realistically, it's probably not going to sell as much as Crash. However, it can have the potential to get to that level if they have a proper marketing spend behind it, proper marketing budget, which they, as I've said, didn't with Crash. So this article is equally interesting as it is potentially concerning, especially if you then look at what Vicarious Vision said about developing the game last year. They talked about how people should keep telling Activision that they want to see it, and then they'll start working on it. Which means that either it was a long con silver, and they actually were BSing, and in reality they were working on it the whole time. That was just sort of a false flag. Or they've only been working on it for a year, and even with a potentially bigger team, that would be an absolute disaster, because the Sane Trilogy, I believe, had about 3 years of development time, and that game still came out with some bugs and some, and loading time being slower than the original game and stuff like that, despite being on the PlayStation 4. So there are concerns to this. Like, I don't want to come along and be the only guy that's negative about this, because I'm absolutely excited at the potential of it, but it is very interesting. They also, the article says here that it will include Spyro 2, Spyro 3 obviously, and there is tantalizing promise of some content cut from the original releases of those games. Now, that to me is like on that fine line of speculation and reality. Is she saying that the source explicitly brought that up? Because that would be very interesting. That would mean, for example, things like the cut Dino Mines boss, the Dino Mines area. There's other things and stuff like that that have been, in Spyro that have been cut. You can check out the cutting room floor. I'll put some links to those, to some of those articles. It's like a Wikipedia type thing with things that cut content, change content. It's very, very good. Very, very cool. And I've obviously covered beta stuff before. But yeah, it's very interesting to see this come out now. We're going to get an announcement next, what's the date? Today is the 14th of February, so potentially another 30 days away, or maybe even 16 days away or something like that. But it's like, it's came out of nowhere. It's exciting, but also potentially concerning. I'm cautiously optimistic overall that that they've been working on it for years secretly. And that would be the best case scenario. Like, the best case scenario with this was all a ruse. They've actually been working on it since like 2015. And then if it came out this year, that's great. I think that the Sane Trilogy game, has the market potentially favorable towards a Spyro game, and realize that, okay, Vicarious Visions are the real deal. They're not going to, make it a terrible game. It is going to be mostly faithful, and I think that'll help boost sort of, sales and confidence as well. So I'm going to keep looking into this. I mean, this has now hit the mainstream market. Something the AV Club is talking about, and now you've got GameSpot. Like, everyone's now on this. This report is definitely getting traction, and it's only a matter of time before we either A, see some teasers and stuff like that, and B, just see a premature announcement. They may just want to capitalize on the hype. You never know. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think. I'm very, very curious as to see where this goes. Sorry for sort of the video sort of being everywhere. I've just had my morning coffee, so yeah, I'm going wild with excitement and speculation and potential negativity. Who knows? All right, guys, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. See you later.
Hope everybody's sitting down, relaxing, chilling, because I want to get immediately into this. We're sitting here live in Orlando,